I wouldn't necessarily call them pinup, but very attractive 1924 female portrait series. We've got February. We have March. We have May. We have June. And we have August.
Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hi, welcome to the Trusty THMercantile channel. If you've been following my channel for a little while, you will know that I am a traveling salesman by day and online vintage reseller by night, weekends, sometimes during the day, whatever it works. And recently I was traveling for my day gig and had an opportunity in between sales calls to do a little bit of shopping, checking out some new locations in some towns that I had not actually visited before. And I actually ended up picking up, not by design, but ended up picking up quite a bit of ephemera. So I didn't get any video showing me shopping for the ephemera. Just one of these cases. Some cases I just didn't do any video at all, just because I only had a very short period of time between appointments. But what I did, and this sometimes happens, I ended up coming back with a bunch of ephemera. It wasn't intended, but I did find some really cool stuff. So I wanted to show it here. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite finds. All of these, although they are things that I enjoy quite a bit, actually all of these items, yeah, pretty much without exception, are going to be for sale. Some right away, some maybe a little bit later, depending on what I'm doing with some of them, including these first two items. First two, I do enjoy ephemera, and it's one of those cases, there have been times I've gone to a shop, and if I can find a booth that just has the bins of just different types of ephemera, or my favorite, or like, hey, this whole bag is $10, and there's just like bunches of magazines and brochures and stuff in there. I just dig through that stuff literally for hours. So I came across one of the locations, and I found two magazines, one from 1903 and one from 1902. If I can get into 19th century, I am totally jazzed, but I'm good with Edwardian as well. So if we're in the aughts, I'm true antique ephemera. I just love one that it still exists. And in some cases, the fact that it still exists and showcases just what were they talking about back in let's start with the 1902 McClure's magazine. It's a fairly thick magazine. It is the September issue, and what was highlighted on here was the president's Cuban policy. Pop quiz, who was the president in 1902? And then we've got published monthly by the SS McClure Company in New York City. Now, this is actually in pretty rough shape. And this is going to be one of those cases where I may sell it as is, because I always like when things are retained. But this is actually in such poor condition. Some of the pages are torn. Some of the pages are literally falling out. This might actually, I don't personally junk journal. And when you get into things this old, I'm not really sure how they would hold up to junk journaling or using for junk journaling. But I am playing with the idea of pulling things for their ads and actually mounting them onto pre-sized backer boards, so that it's easier for someone to say, oh, that's a cute ad, but what do I do with it? Well, here I'm going to mount it onto, reversible mount, but I'm going to mount it onto something that's a 5x7 or an 8x10. So you can just go to the dollar store and pick up a cheap frame, and you suddenly have a really cool piece of art that might be, in this case, from a 1902 women's magazine. So, some of the things that go in there, again, like the cover is almost, it's almost non-existent. Actually, the cover itself has come off. It's just in two pieces. So you've got some cool ads on the back. You've got a cool Libby's corned beef hash inside the back cover. A Pear's soap ad that, again, it was just loosely sitting on there. You got a full page Prudential ad, a full page Melons food ad. So those are stapled on fairly nicely. But this one has stories. And so the stories actually have some beautiful illustrations built into them. So there are going to be stories that people probably do not know, but if I were to trim this down, this is a buzz of whispering followed Miss Carew and her partner around the room. Well, I could either keep that little tag underneath it, or it's so very nicely and thoughtfully gave me a place to cut that I could even trim this down and it would just look like a very cool image from a magazine. And what I thought about this, so I think what I would do is I would then put a little tag on the back saying that this is from, in this case, what did I say? This was McClure's magazine, September 1902. So you know you were getting an original piece and you know exactly where it came from. There's some smaller artwork that's included, but I think what makes this super attractive for being able to cut down on, to cut up for the individual ads or individual pieces are the ads. So you've got Chester's Everlasting Suspenders, McCall's Magazine, clothing patterns. Can't quite see what all these everything. Best and Company. Some of them are smaller, so they would be framed differently. There's Winchester 33 caliber gun ad with somewhat frightening bear. Hello. That's available on there. Chocolates, and let's see, this is Railroadiana is always popular. So here's a full page ad of the Lake Shore and Michigan Southern Railway and New York Central Railway. Kind of a cool with the skyline in there, 1902 skyline. So not quite the skyline we're all used to seeing. $3,000 for photographs, which seems like quite a bit of money for 1902. So there's just some fun ads. And before I do anything with it, I'm going to read some of these articles. I'm going to read some of these stories. Venus or Minerva by George Madden Martin. Well, I don't know. Let's find out. The River Boss by Stuart Edward White. Now, I don't know. Maybe some of these are famous people. But here's another full page. The night eruption as seen from the road going south from Vevey toward Acier. And you've got an illustration of a volcano eruption. So, it's just kind of fun. So that was the September 1902. So just kind of run of the mill, but an antique magazine. But this one is the Christmas 1903 House Beautiful issue. So disappointingly, there's not a lot about Christmas in this one. I thought there would be more. It just happened to be the issue that came out at Christmas. So there's a few things about winter, some seasonal prints, Japanese wood prints, but there's really not a lot of Christmas decor, per se. But what this one has, it's House Beautiful. So there are house floor plans. So this one is the, can't get the page to open. This was the King Door plan. So you actually had the floor plan for one of the homes that was in the magazine. And you've got articles on doorways, articles on fireplaces. There's a story called Holly and the Mistletoe. So, that's where some of the Christmas stuff comes in. But just, check out some of the illustrations for, hey, let's have this fireplace in your dining room. I'll sign up for one of those. So again, it's an era that I really enjoy, that whole Edwardian Gilded Age, 1880s to World War I basically is the Gilded Age. So the aughts are really a nice representation of them because they had the technology. They had a lot of that industrialization already, so they could do a lot. And some of the ads in this one, there's a Tiffany Studios ad. How cool is that? It's like you don't even think about Tiffany's to anyone now. Like, well, Tiffany's is Tiffany's. Well, they had to advertise at some point. So here's an advertisement for Tiffany's. So even just like if this one is also, it's a slightly better shape, but the pages are in kind of rough shape. Trimming that down, that could be a beautiful ad out of the 1903 House Beautiful magazine. So, again, I'm not a huge proponent of chopping things up, but I'm a very big proponent in finding a useful life for antique objects. And the fact is, as an individual piece, it is going to continue to fall apart. It's already difficult to open the pages without separating the spine. So to have a useful home outside of a museum and maybe giving it a life to some of the individual illustrations could be its best solution. But regardless, those are the two magazines that I picked up that probably need to be, something's going to need to do to save them. Less old is this magazine, which is the Tournament of Roses. So now we're in 1964. So we've just jumped a half dozen decades forward, and we have a much newer, yet still very vintage magazine issue. Now, I just found it fascinating that the Spirit of 76 Men are on a 1964 issue. I always just assumed the Spirit of 76 Men were created in 1976. So that's kind of a fun thing that they were being used even earlier than 1976. But this is the official program. It actually also comes with a ticket stub for actually attending the Rose Parade at 268 South Orange Grove. That must have been where their seat was along the parade route. And then I also have, this all came to me as a lot, a series of newspaper clippings from different newspapers of the time, all showing that same Rose Parade. In some cases, it's showing the individual floats and what prizes the floats won. But the one connecting thread to almost all of them is her. So I have a feeling this came out of the home of a family member or of this woman herself, because all of these have the woman who won the Tournament of Roses, Queen Nancy Neeland, queen of the 1964 Tournament of Roses. Now, what I found interesting, and I did not know this, and I don't know if it's still the case, but I read a couple of the articles, and it showed that she was a student at Pasadena College. I think that was the school. And I wasn't aware that the Rose Queen and the entire court they are students at Pasadena College. So she was, as they kept referring to her, as a co-ed. 2,600 Pasadena City College co-eds applied, or I don't know if they all applied, or maybe that's how many there were. That's who was eligible to become queen. So she became the queen, plus she had her court. And so all of the articles have some sort of inclusion with her. But some are from the Los Angeles Times, others are from Pasadena newspapers. It's just a fun little lot. I will keep it all together. The actual program, though, is kind of the fun one because there's ads in it. So there's an ad, the Tournament of Roses with I don't know where the dog came from. For car polish, so I guess you're gonna use the Rose Parade to advertise anything you can. You could buy colored slides of the parade, so if you wanted to watch it later. So there's bank. I think there was a full page ad of cars. I should have marked it. So it's just kind of a neat little snapshot of 1964. Which would have been printed in late 1963. And the reason I say that is a lot of the zip codes are still 1 and 2 digits. Even though the zip codes changed to 5 digits in 1965, a lot of places didn't switch over right away. Or I'm sorry, 64. 63. They became 5-digit zip codes. So in January of 64, technically everyone would have had a 5-digit zip code, but not everyone switched over. And the ads would have been sold in 1963 because it was for the January 1st, issue. But so here are the cars that are advertised. President Eisenhower was the what do you call it? The Grand Marshal. So just a fun little snapshot, and I love ephemera for the ads, for whatever it was, and the fact that this is all kind of a family thing. I'm going to definitely keep it all together, and hopefully someone who really loves the Tournament of Roses, or whatever the case, will give this a home and will enjoy it for what it intends to be. I do pick up advertising pieces every once in a while, and I love the packaging. These were oddball little pieces that I picked up. They'll probably just end up going into my mystery boxes. But they're either prototypes of, or maybe they are new old stock of butter wrappers. Now this one's not quite as old because it has a barcode on it. And this one does have a 5-digit zip code. So these aren't getting super, super old. But I don't know, thought they were kind of fun butter wrappers. I picked up something from the 20s. Picked up a Party Favors and Table Decorations magazine from 1928, so before the Depression, so when people still thought they were going to have parties all the time. And it gives instructions of how to make, baskets, how to do toys and favors. But one of the coolest parts of it was this little insert that was inside. So this is a little fold-out brochure from Denison Goods that actually shows you can buy all of these favors or all these like crepe paper and different things that you could do to go along with your party favors and table decorations. So, people like the Halloween decor, so you can get the black cat masks and all of that stuff is all here. So confetti was 5 cents each in a tube or 50 cents for a dozen tubes. Crepe paper rope was 36 feet long, 15 cents each. Gummed cloth tape, large cardboard cutouts. So this is fun kind of even of itself. If you are a collector of these types of the cutouts, this lists the part number of all the different cutouts that they had. So the 7.5-inch high cat was H68, sold for 5 cents. So I just thought that was like a fun little bonus. I actually didn't even know was in there when I bought it. But from the 20s of this cool little party decoration. Also picked up this little set of what I thought were matchboxes or matchbooks, but I'm like, that's kind of a weird height. Well, they're not. They do have the little, they look like matchbooks. They're Emery boards. How cool is that? They're like little, how many was in here? 8. Well, this one looks like one was used. So 7 in this one. 8 little Emery boards would have been included in this little matchbook. And this was an advertising piece for a television center for TV repair company. So we've got, I just happen to have 2 reds and 2 whites. We're all in the set. So I picked those up. I thought those were kind of fun. And I'm actually doing a live sale with Katie from Vintage and Vinyl on Wednesday, December 29th. So our last joint live sale of the year. That is actually going to be a themed advertising sale. And I thought these were kind of fun. So these are actually going to be sold in that sale. So that will actually be on my channel on December 29th, Wednesday, December 29th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So the channel that you're watching, that is where you'll have a advertising sale, which these will be a part of. This will probably also be a part of it, because another piece of ephemera, but kind of a different piece of ephemera. It's a pair of flat shoes, but what it is it is a balloon weight. So you blow up your balloon, knot it, and then throw the knot through the little hole, and this would weigh down your balloon. So you could have a little balloon sitting on the table with little feet. So it's a Pioneer Qualitex toss-up balloon, lands on its feet every time. So maybe it's not technically advertising, but it's still a cool little piece of ephemera, and definitely want to pick that up. I also hit pay dirt in the blotter department. Now, I found blotters before. Very first time I found one, I didn't even know what it was. And so the person who sold it to me had a little sign like, oh, that's what they are. And then I showed them on one of my sales, and people talked about, well, how do you use a blotter? What's it used for? And I picked them up off and on, and they're usually just a little bit thicker pieces of cardboard. Sometimes they're felted, but most of the time it's just the cardboard themselves. And their general philosophy ends up being that they are for you could if you had a fountain pen that was getting mucky, you could kind of wipe the edges so it was a little bit cleaner, or you could actually take them and press it down onto the onto a letter, or if you've addressed the envelope onto the envelope, because a lot of them are envelope sized. So I have kind of a hodgepodge. So this one is for Fredman bags. So a little bag, all of them are advertising. This is look better in clean white shoes with Griffin all white. So you've got a little freaky doll advertising shoe polish, which I've sold that shoe polish before. We've got another bags one, so a little bit different, a little different color. There were some duplicates in the match that I got. Certified Public Accountants, Liberty Shoe Repairer, ketosis in dairy cows. So you've got veterinary medicine, Cadwallader collection. If you've ever lost money through the neglect of law list attorneys. So another attorney. And this one is another veterinary laboratories card. So what I'm going to do is for a lot of just the general ones that there's not anything particularly special about them, they all appear to be somewhere between the 20s and maybe the 50s. I'm going to be actually selling those as part of Katie's and my advertising sale. I'm just going to do a grab bag because I got a lot of these. So I'm just going to do a grab bag lot where you get 3 for $5. Simple enough. You get a little variety, a little fun, and something inexpensive. I picked the ones that can fit into a standard size envelope. So if you want one of those, let me know ahead of time. I have several, but I'll also be selling those on Katie's sale. But there are some that kind of are better, and so will probably be sold either individually or I'll be listing them on eBay. And some of them were calendar themed, and some of them are 1920s calendars. So, you know, you've got this 1924 calendar for collection services, directors meeting, among those present, SP Engraving Company. So this is also from 1924. And then you've got an insurance company, also from 1924. And then you've got a Wilmans Brothers lithography. So a printing company is printing their own blotters, promoting their printing company. So this is from May of 1924 from Wilmans Brothers. You've got a little image of a woman driving a car with a waterfall in the background. And then you've got in August 1924 that from the same company, and that one is showing a man with a sailboat in the background with the August 1924. So this would have been a case, I don't know if you would have gotten these maybe in with your order, and so it would have encouraged you to order from them every month because then you would have gotten a different month each time. So for that style, I only had the 2. I had the May and the August. But I also have from the Milwaukee Board of Adjusters in the Brumder Building from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a set of 5 I wouldn't necessarily call them pinup, but very attractive 1924 female portrait series. We've got February, we have March, we have May, we have June, and we have August. So unfortunately, I only have 5 of the 12, so I do not have the full set, but I'm going to keep those together, sell those. I'll probably list those on eBay or Etsy because I think that the fact that they have the female portraiture is going to make those attractive, and because they're very much of their time, because it right out in the open says 1924, so you know exactly what era they are from. There was another batch that I also had that I'll also be listing separately. This is the oldest in the batch, and I actually happen to have 4 of these, and I will say, based on what I've researched so far, just the 4 of these, when I resell them, will probably remake my entire money. I bought over 200 of these blotters. Just selling these 4, I think, are going to remake my money, because these have right on here, and it took me, I didn't recognize them when I bought them in the store. I just thought these were cool. They looked cool, and I could tell they looked older. They've got the grommets up in the corner, but they're actually dated some point after. It was probably done at some point in 2000 or in 1915, because it is a fire insurance company of New York. They're showing that they were capitalized at $500,000 in January of 1915. So that would only be relevant for a short period of time, because if they have claims after that, they're going to lose that capitalization. So this was probably a 1915 promotional item. And what's nice about this one is it is the same weight as the other blotters, but it actually has individual blotters in it. They're not printed, they're just blank, but so you have a set. Now it's also cool, the other three are actually all clean and pristine on the back. This one though, there you go. It actually, you can see on the back, it shows the address of something that this was actually used after they wrote the envelope. They pushed this down and the address of this one person got transferred onto the back of this one. So clearly it is used to do an excess blotting of an actual letter, not just wiping off the edges. Although down here, I think that's what was happening, is they were just kind of like wiping down the edge of their pen, and that's why you've got all these little like just junk marks at the bottom. But I thought that was pretty funny. So if anyone knows Ed in Milwaukee, we've got something that was dated to him a long time ago. So these will get posted probably onto Etsy, maybe eBay, depends on how many others are listed. I don't think I found any of these in particular. But blotters sell fairly regularly because they are advertising pieces, and the fact that this is a fire insurance company and the fact that it's New York, there will be collectors for this. So I was super excited to come across this one, and I have another one from Philadelphia that I must not have grabbed, but the categories are all over the place. And it would be impossible for me to list them all individually. So that's why I'm going to do the hodgepodge. And my limitation on the hodgepodge is going to be what fits in a standard number 10 envelope. This is a little bit bigger. So this one's going to have to I'm going to go buy special larger envelopes, or I'm just going to wrap it, do something to it differently. But regardless, I've got tons of these available. So if you're a blotter collector, hey, I am going to be your source for a short period of time. So let me know what you're looking for and we can see what we've got. The final item I'm going to show is probably... Okay, that Westchester blotter was pretty cool, but this was probably conceptually my favorite item that I picked up, at least of the ephemera, the favorite item that I picked up on this trip, because it's just huckster enough that I wanted to pick it up. I wasn't really sure what the market for these would be, so I didn't pick up a lot. There were more available, so I just kind of like dipped my toe into this just to kind of see what kind of reaction it gets, but I just think these are pretty cool. So to start things out, we'll see, we're going to start, they're all these little 3x5 cards, and on each card you've got a little pre-printed area. You got the design, drawer number, all this information all pre-printed that they would have probably done in bulk, and then handwritten is information that's unique to each card. So this one is saying design, Food Town Sugar Markets, drawer number, no etching, for the whatever that means, number of colors 1, remarks 20 up, Ajax S 1360. I'm sure that has some significance to the manufacturing. And then these two little columns, one was sent to factory and one was returned to art department. And these both have dates written in there, and they're both, in this case, from 1959. Well, what was returned to the art department? This. All of these cards have the original prototypes of the matchbook covers that were made for these different companies. So this was the design for Food Town Sugar Markets, and there we go. It is the opened and flat. You can see where the striker would be attached down here at the bottom, but you just have the flat, there are no matches in here, design of Food Town. And you remember it said number of colors 1? There you go. The paper is the light color, and then they printed the dark color on there. So that's what all of these are. They're all from the 50s and the 60s. We've got the Golden Steer restaurant. I thought he was just too cool. We've got the Golden Pheasant restaurant and cocktail bar. There's actually two designs there stapled together. We've got this one is also from 59. This was the Embassy Club of Omaha, Nebraska. And this one's a little bit later. This was 1963. This was the Elbow Beach Surf Club. Got a little seahorse on that one. And then another from 1959. This was one of my favorites. The Flamingo Lanes, the bowling alley. Pink, one color pink on that one. Frenchies was a 3-color. That one was also, that was from 1957. So it was Frenchies. And then I've also got Elliott's Chuck Wagon. So that was from 62, and that was also 1 color. And in some cases, I guess because you would have been given these at the restaurant, they didn't say where they were. So I don't know where this one was located. But there you go, Elliott's Chuck Wagon. So these are just kind of wacky. Yeah, there's like these little weird things that would be great conversation pieces. They'd be difficult to frame because they're kind of, you almost need to know both sides because, you know, people collect matchbooks. That's a known thing. The downside is these actually have staples in them because they were attached to the card. They're not designed to be the matchbooks. And I actually left one behind because it was the only Christmas one that I found, and it was just had Season's Greetings on it, but the staple went right through the word. So even if you tried to remove it from the card, you'd still have a hole in the matchbook. So I'm like, you know, I'm not going to get that one. So I think the kitschiness is in the fact that these are, you know, what these are. Like I said, they're almost kind of like a little huckster item, like a little sales receipt. If you're an advertising collector, you couldn't get more in the definition in the weeds of advertising, but some people wouldn't want to get that far in the weeds. So what I'm probably going to do, these I picked these up specifically to sell at the sale with Katie at the end of the month, because what I'll probably end up doing is maybe pair them up or maybe sell them individually. I haven't decided yet, but just kind of do it more as a grab bag. So it's just fun. I'll make them cheap enough that you can just be like, you know, let's have fun with this. And you just don't know. Are you going to get the Chuck Wagon or are you going to get Flamingo Lanes? You know, you're just not going to know what you're going to get. Because they're just, I picked them up relatively inexpensively. They weren't, you know, pennies. So I had to be sensitive to what I was buying. But there are more available. So if I decide I want to, you know, do more the next time I'm in town, I can buy more because they had probably thousands of them. But I thought these were fun, and I think that some people, these could be like a little fun item to go into their personal collections. So that's what I picked up on this trip. I probably went into a little bit more detail because I didn't have that many items, so this video is probably not as short as I'd intended, but hey, if you've been watching my channel, you know I'm a talker and you're never going to get a short video from me. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed kind of getting a variety of what I carry, what I like to carry. If you see anything that you like, let me know. Drop me a note and drop a comment. Let me know what you're looking for, and if we can work out a price, I have no problem selling it to you before I list it or even before it goes into one of the live sales. So just let me know. But I do appreciate you hanging out with me. I do appreciate you giving me your time and appreciate you putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. Thanks again, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye, finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.